Oh, better do we button back up.
Good evening and welcome to day 13. It's technically day 14, but day 13 because I'm a little bit behind on 24 days of security and whiskey. So let's open up the door. I've got Lee with me still, which is great. He's agreed to wing it on a second subject tonight.
Pleasure. I've carried on with the same whiskey. I've got the Auchentoshan single malt Scotch whiskey.
Excellent. Well, tonight I've got Teeling whiskey, stout cast finish, Irish.
You've had some cool names, I'll be honest.
Yeah, there are some really cool names. But apparently I'm the office bore because I'm still going on about day 2's Mac Swedish whiskey. So didn't quite like the previous one. So the always one smells a bit nicer. So tonight we're talking about secure VPN. So we've touched on this sort of 2 or 3 times. This will be the last time. We'll cover it off quite quickly.
Separate topic.
So secure VPNs, if you watched any of the previous videos, or certainly the previous video, we were talking about full tunnel, half tunnel. Do you want to just remind us a bit more about those two?
Yeah, so you've got 2 types of VPN, secure, full tunnel and half tunnel. We full tunnel sort of goes by its name. So if you're in a different destination, all of your traffic will be going to and from the office, and you will appear to the outside world as if you are sat in the office behind, inside your work's network. Half tunnel is so you could be somewhere else, and you could be watching YouTube on one screen, and then if you wanted to access I'm not suggesting you do this, by the way. If you wanted to access a work file, your S drive or something like that, when you double clicked into your S drive, only the data for that S drive will go down the tunnel. So it's split tunnel. That's what it's referred to. It splits your traffic. Now, full tunnel by nature is a lot more secure because your firewall at work may have different ways of dealing with certain types of traffic for various different applications or various things you might not be able to view online and stuff. That'll all be sort of protected behind your infrastructure at work. Whereas the half tunnel, it's not as much. So where possible, you should always use full tunnel VPNs. Now, I think a more common example is being in an open space, maybe Costa,
Starbucks.
If you're allowed. Starbucks, soon. Not yet, but soon.
Tier 2, yes. Tier 3, or Tier 1, where you're basically.
We're Tier 3.
We're Tier 3. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're Tier 3.
Excellent.
So we're sitting in Costa. Now you've seen all these all over the place with just jump on my network. The NHS has got one, I think, just an open public network where you might have a captive portal. A captive portal being, please give me your email address so that I can authenticate what you've done in the future if I ever need to look at it.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's encrypted or anything like that. So if you was at Costa and you were not using their network, if you were using their network, I could potentially, in fact, quite probably see if you were accessing data at work by just being in the same room as you and joined onto the same network. Now, what would stop that would be a VPN. Now, even a full tunnel or half tunnel would stop this type of traffic from being sort of poached out of the air, so to speak. And what the VPN will do is, you're sat and you're drinking your coffee, and you want to go and get the file. Now, without the tunnel there, A, you probably wouldn't be able to get the file. But B, it creates literally a tunnel to work. It's encrypted, encapsulated, and it would go off and grab that for you. Now, if you can do that without having a VPN, there's something seriously wrong. Unless you're on SharePoint or something like that.
Yeah.
If you've got SMB open to the world. Yeah.
But even on that, so I actually don't have it at home with me. It's in the office, but I have what's called a pineapple. You're probably familiar with Lee, but
the Wi-Fi, the four.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I've got it. I bought number 7 recently. It came out a
Okay.
couple of weeks
So
ago.
I've got a couple of older versions in that. And I got it to demo at a couple of conferences that we put on a couple of years ago. And basically, I set up a Wi-Fi network. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. Just called free Wi-Fi in this conference center. And the amount of people that just jumped on. And I could actually see the traffic they're going through. I put some impersonation in and demoed it. But at this point, I'd already told them this, so I got them to demo it. So I think I did a fake BA page and various other things, so I could grab their username and password out.
They're really good, aren't they? The pineapple.
Really, really good, really, really good. But again, if you're on a VPN, certainly a full tunnel VPN, as soon as you connect to that external Wi-Fi, I wouldn't have been able to see any of that traffic because it was encrypted. So also when we talk about secure VPNs, VPN's been around for, well, as long as I've been in IT, which is
many. Well, I'll stop saying that.
Yeah, good save. I actually will tell you, it's 20 years next year I've been in IT. So
I set my first computer on fire when I was 11.
Excellent.
Back when you could put the sockets in the one way around.
I'm talking about a professional career. I did have a 286 back in the day.
My first computer.
So there used to be an old technology which a lot of non-modern firewalls or next generation firewalls, if you watch the firewall video we did together, Lee, use PPTP VPNs. They used to be very, very popular. I wouldn't class those as secure. You can break those in about 20 minutes or so.
They're not secure. They're not. I would tell you what it stands for because I had to learn it recently, but I can't remember right now off the top of my head. They're not overly secure, and a lot of Draytechs use PPTP still. You can also set up secure VPNs on Draytechs, but they default.
So SSL VPNs on Draytechs, my experience of them are very poor. The performance on them are very poor.
They're not built for decrypting and encrypting the traffic as quickly as you want it to.
No, I mean, effectively, you've got a £100 router in place of a £1,000 firewall. And we specify our firewalls for sure anyway. I'm sure you do too. On size and load, what services you're running in. So more services will have more processing power you have. So a bit like I said, if you want to run email and a SQL database for your line of business app, you need more memory, right? You need more compute. Same with the firewall.
A lot of the bigger firewalls have specific chips designed to deal with algorithms and decrypting and encrypting traffic, so taking the load off. But again, much bigger and more expensive.
So SSL VPNs. What other types of? I'll be honest with you, I'm asking a question because I've completely forgotten. What other types of secure VPNs?
IPsec.
IPsec, that was it.
IPsec. I think, I'm sure I'm going to get corrected, uses TLS instead of SSL.
Yeah.
And then it encapsulates traffic that way, and then sort of off it goes. And you've got the other. What was the other one? Windows still does it. It's an older one, but they're still around.
So while we're talking about encapsulation, while we're talking about SSLs, IPsec, and PPTP, even
L2TP.
L2TP. So while we're talking about all of that, is it's a bit like if you it's all about decryption length of keys and various other things that you have, right? So PPTP in very simple terms is if the password is password that's sent across the tunnel, it's very the actual technology that is used to encrypt that password across the tunnel is so poor these days in terms of compute power to break it that it's not worth it. Where something like an SSL VPN is much more harder to crack, right? So
100%.
So it takes hours, days, years to break.
More than years. And
depending on the
and it does make a difference on the length of key as well. If you use ABC123, regardless, if you use the same thing but then had a 50 key thing to decrypt. That once that's encrypted, that length does matter. I think they require or suggest a minimum just on wireless keys for like 12 characters or something like that nowadays. But yes, the ciphers that are used, they are broken, and as computers get more powerful, then the ones that are current ones, I think we're on RSA 4096 now, and that's gonna.
Man with me for knowing that.
No, that's gonna. I think we're RSA because there's. I'm not gonna get into it because I'll make myself look silly. But you've got ciphers, and then you've got things like SHA, which is encapsulates that around, and it all gets messy and hopefully good.
So look, we
Secure.
can get confused by this. I'm sure people, very few people that watch these.
If you want me to get my book out to show you the chapter on it that I've been reading recently, it's like this.
It's fine. I did actually go into the office the other week, and I did a bit of a clearing out of our sort of old books we've got for certifications, and there was a very old Cisco book we had in there from one of the guys did it, and it was a lot of that was around security and some of this stuff. But it's really, if you need to connect to something, use the most secure you can do. I mean, we haven't touched on two-factor, so you can two-factor now VPN connections. Again, my opinion with two-factor, if you can two-factor something, two-factor it. Why wouldn't you?
It's a necessity. It's not a I'd like to. You should have it, and if someone doesn't support it, that's
so
not
again.
Great,
Back to the previous one we've just done about Cyber Essentials. We have a risk register of applications and things that we can't two-factor in our organisation. There's one thing on it. January.
You are allowed to.
Yeah.
If there's a business reason for it, a legitimate business reason for it, but then you accept the risk.
You accept the risk. Exactly. And that's what part of having a risk register is all about. But actually, we're I'll be honest with you, it's a very noddy piece of our technology. The only thing left we haven't two-factored. Doesn't affect our service to our clients. It doesn't touch on their security, but actually it's a marketing database effectively that stores some videos and things that were done a very long time ago. I've got agreement now from our board that we're going to two-factor that, so I've got to try and work that out in January how I'm going to have to two-factor this old application, but we'll do it. It's just a case of it's not worth the risk. So if you can two-factor your VPNs, two-factor them. You might have to pay something for it, but actually it adds that extra level of security. If nothing else, if you are paying for it as well, you should be auditing how many users you've got, whether those users still need access. Again, good policies around levers starting, levers using, level of access they require, and bits and pieces like that. So for me, I do most of my work outside of our VPN connections. I'll be honest with you, because my home connection is a lot faster than our office connection. But if I do connect in, we make it full tunnel.
To be fair, Outlook natively is encrypted to Exchange in the cloud, so that is effectively its own tunnel. You know, it's still encrypted. It's not. You already deal with things on your system that are encrypted, but not everything is.
Not everything is.
You'll find a lot of passwords seem to go first in plain text for some reason. I don't know why.
But yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing when I was playing with the Pineapple. The amount of stuff for web browsing, even if it was on how easy it was to break an encryption on a website. I mean, I'm going back a year or two now, and since I've played with my Pineapple, but the actual inbuilt stuff into this device, which cost like 90 quid, 120 quid, or whatever it was really good at just breaking that with a VM, Linux VM.
I love it.
Yeah, it's scary, and so I mean we're drifting off here.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I mean I would also say that, do you really need to connect to the Costa Coffee Wi-Fi? Is your mobile phone hotspot not good enough as well?
Yeah, they're
I
less
know,
likely to be monitoring the mobile network's traffic than they are, because to monitor a network, you have to be on the network.
yeah,
I can't, for instance, I can't go to my work IP address and start monitoring our external IP.
mm,
I need to be in line with the
yeah,
carrier
yeah,
to do
yeah.
that. So yeah,
But yeah, so it's really interesting, and you're talking about, if you're on the same network, you can see it. Again, I'm going back a couple of years ago. I actually went on holiday to quite a big place. I won't mention the name, and I brought the premium Wi-Fi bundle they had. I think it was called, and
get an
this
extra
one,
0.1 megabit down. Yeah,
well, yeah, but basically you could upload your photos at the end of the day. I thought, well, I'll just have a quick look, see what's on the network. So I used a network scanner. That's all I did, and I found pretty much all their staff network. I found most of the other guest bits and pieces. So I emailed their head of security, and I actually got a little reward for pointing it out. That the node, because it was actually, again, policies process. They had it locked down, but the node I was on, they weren't monitoring properly, so it allowed traffic through. This is the story, apparently. So they fixed that node the next day, and all was good. But it
so even
is
hotels use VPNs, people.
yeah, VPNs. When you're traveling in foreign countries, won't mention
Just
names.
don't trust other people's networks. That's not yours.
Yeah. It's not generally because they're going to be malicious. It's because there's a git sat in the same network in the same hotel that's bored of an evening, right? Going, what can I find out? It's usually not malicious most of the time, but it could be, right?
You never know. I don't know who you work for. You might be a military contract. Someone
Mm.
might be. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to put the tinfoil hats
Yeah.
on people's head, but it's
yeah.
You never know.
Well, again, a lot of breaches happen through third parties, right? So they're not potentially after you, they're potentially after your client. It's one of those. We talked about MSPs risks.
Yep, we did.
That we have in our business, and with the length we have to go to. But it is a scary world, and
people are so open to give their data away for free as well.
Yeah, well, yeah,
and
yeah.
That baffles me.
Oh, yeah.
Google are quite open about it, to be fair.
But yeah, I was having a conversation actually with one of my colleagues this morning about actually there's a load of bad people out there, right? But there's also a load of grey area people, and we were talking about it in terms of eBay of all things, as you get onto with the senior member of your team of a 9:30 of a morning, where people just are very grey in those areas. And actually, I find that's the same with being out and about on security. Actually, if you were bored, or like I say, you're that guy in the hotel room, not saying you personally, but if someone's in a hotel room,
I need to go to a hotel first.
I think anyone would at this moment in time. They'll probably give their data away for free for that. They will people are naturally just curious and will do
inquisitive
and will do bits and pieces, and it's I should have a drink after that, thinking it's depressing me now.
And that's actually called grey hat hacking for people that sort of you got black, grey, and white hat.
Yeah.
Greys are like you said, they're not the malicious, just inquisitive and nosy. Black hat do it for malicious intent or gain. And white hat. So what you did was technically in the lines between sort of white and grey. As in, you saw there was a problem and you told them about it. That's probably more grey than white, but
it's one of those weird ones. I mean, so a lot of companies now have bug bounty programs. A lot of big companies. Again, if you've listened or if you listened to a previous one, we talked about Darknet Diaries very briefly. There's one there about a guy who was a black hat turned white hat and earned 100,000 in a day or something like that, wasn't it, or something?
It's good money. Bug bounty hunter.
Could be good money. Could be good money.
You got to be good.
You got to be good, and I think you got to be lucky to get there first. and own up to it. But yeah, but that will become much more of a thing, I think, in terms of those bug bounty programs. And again, going back to frameworks, I know that some frameworks now, certainly the NIST stuff for larger enterprises, they talk about having a bug bounty program is one of their tick boxes. But yeah, no, I think we've rambled on for long enough. It was going to be a very quick one. Obviously, good whiskey. But thank you very much, Lee, and we'll see you on this week. Okay.
Yes, I don't know which day yet, but I'll be around.
No, I don't know. We'll talk about it in a second. Brilliant. Thanks, Lee.
No worries.
I can remember to turn off recording.